All right, ready to dive into another career deep dive. Today, we're all about landing that machine operator supervisor job.
We've got our hands on a super detailed career guide, A&D, some real interview questions people have been asked.
It's like having a cheat sheet, but totally legit.
Yeah,
So if you're about to interview for one of these roles,
this is for you.
we're going to break it all down. Not just the what, but the why behind those interview questions.
And of course, we'll sprinkle in how RoleCatcher can, well, give you that AI edge to just blow them away.
Exactly. Let's get this show on the road. First things first.
Yeah.
What does a machine operator supervisor actually do all day?
So you're basically leading the team that keeps those machines humming, right? Think about it, making sure those raw materials are flowing in, getting processed, transformed into those finished products that everyone needs.
Okay, so it's like more than just making sure the machines are running.
Way more. It's the whole production process, coordinating your team, troubleshooting issues, making sure everything meets those, quality standards. Got to keep that production line moving.
I get there's a lot of thinking on your feet, problem solving on the fly. What's a question somebody interviewing for this job should absolutely be ready for?
Can you describe your previous experience as a machine operator supervisor?
It's a classic. And for good reason.
Sounds pretty straightforward. What are they trying to figure out by asking that?
They're digging for specifics. Don't just rattle off job titles. Think about the actual machines you've worked with, the size of the teams you are leading, the challenges you overcame. This is your highlight reel. Like, did you streamline something that saved everyone a ton of time? Did you put a safety protocol in place that prevented accidents?
So instead of saying, I supervised a team, you'd say something like, I managed a team of 10 operators, and we actually boosted efficiency by 15% by rolling out a new training program.
Now you're speaking their language. Give them numbers, make it concrete.
Love that. Now, since we're on the topic of managing a team, what about those questions about handling, employee performance? Oh, they're going to ask about that. How do you manage employee performance and ensure productivity? Be ready for it.
And you can't just say, I'm a great motivator and call it a day, right? They'll want examples.
Exactly. This is where you pull from those real-life situations. Talk about setting clear expectations, giving constructive feedback, all that good stuff that creates a good working environment, right?
It's about painting that picture. Oh, this reminds me of Sarah. You were telling me about her, the operator who was struggling to meet her targets.
Ah, yeah. It turned out it wasn't her, it was that bottleneck in the system. We streamlined the workflow and her numbers shot up. That's a great example of how a machine operator supervisor can make a real difference.
It's all about those leadership skills.
Oh.
Okay, switching gears a bit. What about questions about the machines themselves? That's got to be a big part of the job.
Totally. Be ready for something like, how do you ensure machines are properly maintained and repaired? They want to know you understand how important this is, that you're on top of it.
Because a broken machine means everything grinds to a halt.
Exactly. Minimizing downtime, that's the name of the game. Think about your experience with preventative maintenance, those safety protocols, troubleshooting when something unexpected happens. Have you ever, spotted a problem before it became a huge issue?
Or even fixed a small thing yourself to keep the line moving. That's got to impress them.
For sure. Shows you're not afraid to get your hands dirty. It's not just what you know, it's how you use it when it really counts.
Yeah.
And speaking of keeping things running smoothly...
It makes me think about organization.
Oh, for sure.
Because machine operator supervisor, that's like the king or queen of juggling a million things at once.
Absolutely.
So I'm guessing a question like, how do you prioritize tasks and handle multiple responsibilities? Comes up a lot.
Oh, you better believe it. That one's all about, showing them you can handle the pressure, prioritize like a pro, and stay on top of everything. Even when, let's face it.
When things get a little crazy.
Exactly.
Which on a factory floor, it probably does.
Yeah.
So what's the best way for our listeners to handle this kind of question?
Talk about your system. Are you a list person? Maybe you're all about that color-coded calendar. Or maybe you've got some fancy project management software you swear by. Whatever it is, let them know you've got a method to the madness.
Right. And just as important, that you can adapt when things inevitably go sideways.
Exactly. Be ready with a story. A time when your priorities did a 180 and you had to, reassess, reorganize, delegate like a champ. Maybe a critical machine went down, a shipment was DOA, or you got hit with some crazy quality control curveball.
Paint that picture of, I can handle it no matter what.
Exactly.
Speaking of quality control,
Oh, yeah.
I'm imagining that's huge EE in this industry. What should our listeners be ready for on that front?
Can you describe your experience with quality control and assurance? Guaranteed to come up.
Okay, but I'm guessing I'm a perfectionist isn't going to cut it.
Probably not. Think about concrete examples. How did you ensure quality in your past roles? What were your go-to measures? Did you bring in regular product inspections, implement new software? Or maybe you came up with some totally out-of-the-box solution that reduced defects.
This reminds me of something in the career guide. There was a bit about like common challenges these supervisors face. And one of them was this whole balancing act of meeting production quotas, but also keeping those quality standards sky high.
Yep, it's a real thing. And interviewers know it. They want to know that why you know it, and more importantly, that you have ways of dealing with it.
So it's not enough to say you value quality. You got to prove you've walked the walk.
Right.
Okay, on a slightly different note, let's talk safety. What's a typical safety-related question our listeners should be ready for?
Something like, how do you ensure safety regulations are followed in the workplace? It's a big one.
Makes sense. Safety is a huge deal in this environment. But it's not just about knowing the rules, right? They want to see that you're, passionate about it.
Absolutely. Don't just give them a list of OSHA regulations. Talk about how you create a culture of safety. Did you start a new training? Create a system for reporting hazards. Maybe you empowered your team to speak up if they see something risky.
It's about being proactive, right?
Yes.
Which goes back to that leadership thing. It's not just machines, it's the people too.
Exactly.
Now, how about those tricky people situations?
Yeah.
Conflicts between team members, disagreements about how things should be done.
Right.
What's a question our listeners should prepare for on that front?
How do you handle conflicts or difficult situations with employees? They're looking for your ability to navigate those sometimes awkward human interactions. You need empathy, fairness, a cool head.
Because working with people is always interesting.
You got that right. And interviewers know that. They don't want someone who runs from conflict, but someone who can handle it well and find solutions that work. Share a specific example. Maybe you mediated a dispute, addressed a performance issue, or even helped someone through a personal challenge that was affecting their work. Those stories are powerful.
That's a really good point. It's about those real-life situations.
Yes, bring them to life.
Now, we've covered experience, leadership, that technical side, and handling, those curveballs that life throws at you. What other questions should our listeners be prepared for?
Well, in this day and age, with everything changing so fast, they'll want to know that you're all about staying ahead of the curve. Be ready for a question like, how do you stay up to date on industry trends and advancements?
Makes sense. The manufacturing world's always evolving. New tech, new processes popping up all the time. They want someone who's eager to learn and grow.
Exactly. This is your chance to brag a little.
So should people just say, I read industry magazines? What are they looking for here?
Well, it's a start. But think bigger. What publications do you follow? Conferences you've gone to? Webinars, maybe? Have you taken any courses to level up your skills? Maybe even presented something yourself, at a conference or workshop, anything like that.
It's about showing them you're proactive, not just going through the motions.
Exactly.
While we're on the topic of professional growth, I wanted to circle back to something you touched on earlier about the career path for a machine operator supervisor. The guide we're using actually lays out some pretty interesting stuff there.
It does. And it's worth mentioning there's definitely room to move up. As you get more experience under your belt, you can aim for those senior positions like production manager, even operations director down the line.
So for those just starting out, it's good to know there's a way to climb that ladder. And speaking of leadership, I bet interviewers are curious about how you approach, training and developing your team.
For sure. Be ready for something like, how do you ensure that employees are properly trained and receive ongoing development opportunities? It's going to come up.
It's like they're asking, are you going to invest in my people? It's about more than just that initial training.
It's about creating a culture of learning.
Exactly.
All the time.
So how do you answer that one effectively?
Highlight your ability to see your team's strengths and weaknesses. Talk about how you create those training programs that really meet people where they're at.
It's about nurturing their potential.
Exactly.
Like you said before, being a machine operator supervisor, it's not just about the machines. It's about the people.
It is, absolutely.
Now, shifting gears a bit, let's talk budgets.
The money stuff.
Because, you could have the most efficient production line in the world, but if it's not making financial sense...
That's going to fly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I imagine a question like, how do you manage budgets and ensure that costs are controlled?
Mm.
is pretty standard.
Oh, yeah. That's a big one. They want to see you get it, that you understand the financial impact of your decisions. They've got to trust you to make smart choices.
So when they ask that, it's not enough to just say, I'm good with numbers.
Right.
What are some good things our listeners can highlight?
Give them specifics. Have you found ways to save money? Maybe you're a tough negotiator with suppliers and get those costs down. Or maybe you streamlined something that reduced waste.
Show them you're thinking about the bottom line.
Yes.
Now, before we wrap things up, I want to loop back to RoleCatcher. We talked about how important it is to, tailor your answers to the specific job you want. And that's really where RoleCatcher comes in, right?
100%. It's like having this AI coach in your corner looking at the job description and giving you feedback on your resume, your cover letter, even how you answer interview questions.
That's amazing. It's like having a secret weapon to help you stand out.
Exactly. RoleCatcher's AI can analyze your answers, see where you can improve, and even give you tips on like your delivery, your body language. It's all tailored to that specific company and that specific job.
Wow, that's really impressive. It's like having a whole interview prep team at your fingertips.
Right. It can make a world of difference.
Well, there you have it, listeners. We've walked you through what it takes to be a machine operator supervisor, broken down those interview questions, and even given you the inside scoop on RoleCatcher. Now go out there and ace that interview.
You got this.
That's a wrap for this deep dive. Until next time, remember, you're awesome.